What did your crush do that completely ruined your infatuation for them?
We had been going out for a few weeks and on the way home from a party, we went to get McDonald's and he paid for me. I have an allergy and they got my order wrong. I asked and it wasn't a problem, they made me a new burger and told me to keep the incorrect one as they couldn't resell it. I offered it to him, he didn't want it so I said I would just bring it home to give to my housemate so it wouldn't go to waste. He was completely fine with this. Then a homeless guy came in and started asking at the tables for change. I offered him the burger and he took it. My date went crazy at me for giving away the burger that he had paid for, even though he was okay with me giving it to my housemate, and followed the homeless man, shouting at him to give it back. Then got the guy kicked out of the restaurant. It was terrifying. He went from easygoing and charming to furious in a split second. Then when he sat down again, he acted like everything was normal and asked me if I wanted to go home with him. It was a side of him I hadn't seen before. I'm glad he showed his true colors early.
When I was 17 at my first year at uni, I made friends with a girl in my year. It wasn't like instant crush, but she was funny and I grew to like her. One day we were going home after classes together. Turns out we lived pretty close to each other, chatting and joking. And at one moment she says, "I really liked talking to you just about anything, I would have jumped you right now if you weren't so ugly." I was a really awkward teenager, severely underweight, skin problems and some other complexes. On top of that very introverted, so it outright killed my remained self-esteem. Thing is that she actually didn't realize the effect of her words, it was like a passing comment to her and wasn't said with malicious intent. That fact actually made these words even more hurtful.
I figured out he was dating me and two other girls and playing each other against us. One night at a party one of the other girls wanted to fight. Honestly, I was drunk and tired and was getting in my friend's car to leave when she tried to start a fight with me over him. I just said, "Tell your friends we got in a fight and you won. Also, you can have him." I got in the car and went home to bed. That was the day I decided I would never fight over a guy. If he wants to be with me, he will be with me.
Met a girl on a dating app. She wanted to meet at a club near me. I suggested coffee, but whatever. Show up and she's talking to a guy. Say hi. Learn she invited us both to see which she'd prefer and watch us compete. We both say, "Fuck that." I buy him a beer and we both go back over to my friends and hang out. Cool dude. The girl then proceeded to tell me that she was sorry and she preferred me. I did not prefer her. The other guy and I ended up chatting, drinking beer, and watching the hockey game at the pub while she tried to keep chatting us up to no avail. Went out for a date, found out it was a competition, drank beer, ignored her. Actually had a decent time.
When I was in college, I had some random class where the same guy sat next to me every class. We'd chat and stuff, it was fun. One day I was wearing a sleeveless shirt and he reached over and tweaked the underside of my upper arm and said, "Are you going to have flabby arms when you're an old lady?" Like, WTF. I gave him a look of death, I couldn't even help it, that he actually recoiled from, it was so intense. I never sat next to him or spoke to him again, and it was years before I wore a sleeveless shirt again.
Turns out she had absolutely no filter. She took pride in saying what was on her mind, which was kind of cute at first, until I realized that she literally meant it, every thought in her head spewed out of her mouth no matter who could hear it. Not a day went by where she didn't get into an argument with someone over some insensitive or insulting comment that she made. She was the female embodiment of Larry David in Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Noticed an attractive woman a few times at a local hangout spot. One evening we struck up a conversation. This led to a series of casual hookups. We'd usually meet somewhere, which kept it light and casual. One night she invited me to her place. Pretty quickly I realized that this was the home of a married couple pictures, etc. I asked if she was married and she said yes. but it was okay because he was out of town on a fishing trip. I'm not a saint, but it really bothered me because I didn't consent to have an affair with a married woman. I noped out of there and didn't look back.
This might sound dumb, but I was dating someone briefly several years ago that I had a red flag moment and walked away. We had only gone on a few dates and hadn't become intimate yet. He came to my house when I had just bought my first car and he sat on the hood. I asked him not to do that, and he just laughed. After a few more times asking and him blatantly ignoring me and mocking me, I dropped him. If he couldn't even manage respecting such a small boundary, I wasn't interested in giving him a chance not to respect others.
I have to say, if there's one thing I've learned in relationships, is that you really need to watch for people who push boundaries. It takes a few forms. Saying that even though they recognize the reasons for your boundary, they should be the exception because they're different. All that says to me is that they don't understand why I have that boundary and value their own wants/needs over my comfort. Slipping up and violating stated boundaries repeatedly. It shows they have poor impulse control or just really care more about their own needs. Pouting when you set boundaries or punishing you by withholding affection. Blaming you for ruining the mood/situation. When you remind them that they're violating a previously voiced boundary. A lot of these are common in relationships when you're younger, but it's important to make the importance of respecting boundaries clear early on both for yourself and your partner. If you get your boundaries trampled, you end up unhappy and resentful. When they get away with it, they learn that their behavior is acceptable if they can figure out a way to manipulate you into accepting it. That means they don't grow as a person.
Started seeing a girl somewhat recently that works in the same industry as I do, and hadn't dated in some time. Initially there were no red flags at all, and things were going great. Felt like everything in life was breaking my way for once. Fast forward to a few months later, and completely out of nowhere she accuses me of hacking into her devices. She then thinks that a speaker that I gave her when I was cleaning out some of my old stuff was listening in on her. I realize she has some serious paranoid delusions and mental health issues. I take this into account, and choose to still be friends with her because I know she needs some good people in her life. I know she can't help the way she is, and I really don't want to just cut her off because of mental health issues she can't control. Fast forward to a few days ago and I get a call from the local police that she reported me for stalking, breaking and entering, and cyber harassment. I have literally not been to her apartment in several weeks at this point. So, I explain the situation to the officer that called me, and tell them she needs to seek some mental health treatment. I haven't made an attempt to contact her since, and will be filing a restraining order against her if she continues to try to disrupt my life. I hope she gets the help she needs, but when you're dealing with someone who is legit crazy and that doesn't have a solid support network, that is usually not the case.